We're gonna do some fun stuff together today. I'm really glad that you guys came. I know it's a gray day. It can be hard to motivate, so well done. And I just want to remind you, this is your practice. So if at any point we're doing something too much, too little, that just doesn't suit you, ultimately your job is, now that you've gotten to the mat, you did the hard work, is to spend as much of this time as you can listening into the subtle feedback loop from your body. And I know that can be challenging because I'm up here going, do this, inhale, exhale, do that. But that is the ultimate highest source of information, is your own system. I'm going to invite us to start off on our back bodies. And first, right away, just start organically moving, just stretching, rolling out wrists and ankles. Oh, you might really flex from one heel to one hand. Oh, you might just naturally go into some sighing breaths or decide, ooh, that would be good. I'm going to go there. Oh. Yeah. And I'm being reminded that where we have our attention, we grow stuff, right? What we give our attention to grows. And so even while we're wanting to notice things that are crunchy, sticky, etc., to be able to attend to them, we also want to make sure our attention is on the fact that the majority of our systems are working beautifully, right? Radiantly healthy. I've got energy to be here. My salivary glands are working. My eyes are working, right? Like on and on and on. All right. When you feel complete with that stretching, we're going to do a little in and out of released wind. So we're going to bring that right knee into the belly. Reach that left heel as far away as you can. Deep inhale. And we'll switch. Left knee draws in. And I really notice that I can progressively draw in if I keep at it, reaching far away with that right heel. And we'll switch. You're gonna do this a couple more times. So feel free to time it with your breath or just the need, perhaps, to hold longer on one side. And I'm hoping that you're getting a chance to notice if there's any difference, perhaps in the front of the hip, for example, on the extended leg. Or I know sometimes people feel an impingement or pressure in the hip of the head leg. Then we're going to bring both feet flat as if you're going into bridge pose, but for now, we're actually just coming into compression and expansion breathing. I'm gonna have my hands on the abdomen to really communicate with those abdominal muscles. Inhaling slow, deep and wide. Through the nose if you can. Exhaling, essentially compression, belly to spine, spine to floor. Maybe you're squeezing an imaginary block and feeling that pelvic tilt. Inhaling, relax. Let that breath wave, flow up the spine. Is there more? And again, exhaling, belly, spine, spine to floor, and squeeze the imaginary block. As we do a few more of these, use this opportunity to stay soft in the neck. You might roll the head side to side. To communicate again with those core muscles, perhaps including pelvic floor. And of course, to witness the breath wave. Is there more? Hearing some nice ujjayi, I love it. You might be placing just the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, crossing the eyes up and in. Let's do one more. And I'm going to have us rise up to our bridge pose and add our foot hump. So you might want to work your shoulder blades in a little to reduce spine compression. And very slowly going back and forth. You might notice yourself kind of inclined to prop with the arms If that's happening, you could experiment with raising the arms towards the ceiling, hands towards the ceiling. See what works better for you. And then slowly down, we're gonna take both arms now, reach them overhead towards the wall behind you. Big inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, spine to floor, bridge, and bring the arms up and then over. So down to the floor as the hips rise. Inhale to send one rib at a time as the arms sweep slowly the ceiling and then overhead towards the wall behind you. And continuing, letting breath initiate motion. So feeling the beautiful anchoring of the spine that makes it easy to make the other actions. Hips rise, arms switch to that floor position. You're noticing in the various parts of the body. More. Is there more? Is there more inhale? Is there more exhale? Inhale, send one rib at a time, and then coming into your happy baby. If you need to bring knees to belly first, remember, any little instincts you get from your body, listen. You might be playing in happy baby, but then going into half straddle, which is where my body just went all on its own. It's like, oh man, I really want to work with straightening these hamstrings out a little bit. And notice that when you do that, there's an opportunity for the quadricep at the front of the thigh to really fire up if you get the legs straight. I also love pointing, flexing, and rolling through the ankle joints in this position. And if your hand is on the leg, you'll feel all that impact all the way up. At some point, bringing the heels together in butterfly at the butt. You might just hang out there and breathe. You might reach or slide one foot higher up the body as if you were thinking about kissing it. Then bringing the knees in together. We're going to come into our little baby robot. I want to really ignite that low belly psoas area before we come up to standing work and stretch it in a little bit. So I like to start with my knees into the belly and then root my back into the floor. And if you do that, you should feel your pelvis kind of tilt. Keeping that anchoring, send the knees away from each other directly above the hips, parallel but not touching, feet flexed. Big inhale. Exhale, keep that back rooted and take one knee away from it. It might be an inch or 3 or 5, but pretty small movement. And then return to that starting position. You can relax your core contraction anytime. Take a beautiful big inhale. Just make sure you exhale and re-anchor as you take that other knee on its journey away from you. And we're going to continue in that way for a few rounds. I find sometimes I just need to take a break and then I can come back in. Oh, you guys are doing beautiful small movements. Yes, well done. Are you guys feeling that in that low abdomen between the hip bones? A little bit? Good, 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 good. Yeah, this pose actually, or this practice helped me train my abdomen to draw down towards the spine versus popping out when doing a sit-up or other things that needed the core. Ooh, yeah, to take a break whenever you want is a good thing. And then when you come out, you might want to counter shape. Maybe you're craving bridge pose again, or sometimes people just lay flat. But that's a kind of an extreme holding position for those hip flexors. And again, we're going to do some nice stretching in a little bit. Okay, for now, we're going to come up into table pose, a little cow cat. The last few weeks, I've really been focusing on very intentional cow cat movement, and I hope you'll continue with that. So it's not just the spine moving one way and then the other. It really starts at the tailbone. Tailbone draws back. Slowly inhale, draw the heart forward away from tailbone. Exhaling, we tuck the tailbone slowly, and that's where you should feel that ignition of that low belly beginning to that curl at the low spine. Letting the head hang. Oh, it can feel so marvelous. And then when it's time, tailbone tilts back. Inhaling, drawing the heart forward. This is a pose I do most mornings. I find it very useful. It always helps me get looser. It also helps me notice where I'm bound. And that allows me to maybe embed my practice differently, or as I move through life that day, to hopefully be less injury prone, thoughtful about how I lift things. At some point in cat back, inviting you to send your ribs to the left. You can even send your hips a little to the left as you look out over your right shoulder. And switching. Ribs, maybe hips go right without left shoulder. Beautiful. And then settle back into your child's pose. If your knees don't prefer child's pose, you could go to ragdoll. Notice where the breath travels in this shape. For the long exhale, tuck the tailbone, coming back up into your cat back. We're going to do a few hip circles. And if being on your wrists is bothersome, remember you can go to fists. But also remember, if you're lifting your core quite a lot, you should be able to collapse. There's not such an investment in the hands. All right, nice and slow. Take that right knee on a nice circling journey. One way, other. Then I'm going to bring that foot out to the side, nice and flat. And let the hips move back and forward. So if you're able to flatten your foot to the floor, you might want to take socks off just to be safe so they're not sliding on you. Then have the sole of the foot flat. If that hurts your ankle or something, then you can have the anchoring be on the inner line of the foot, but you want your foot flexed, not just floppy, because that's going to put your knee in this sort of compromising position if you're just floppy. At some point, you could take the hips all the way back and then rotate the foot close to the ceiling. And this is one of my favorite stretches for getting into hamstrings and all that, where I'm very tight. So I'm just going to walk my hands a little kind of forward off the side of my mat. Then on days where I get it right, so you want your leg out to the side, not back. There you go. On the days where I get it right, I feel a stretch on the inner thigh, etc., but sometimes also on the ribs. And some of you are doing this with your hips back by the heel, like I am. Some of you are doing it with your hips up, and that's fine. So it's whatever's feeling good for your knee, hips, and so on. When it's time to come back, really important that this is nice and slow. Soften that knee and leg and just bring it gently back. Yeah, that's fine. The other, like giving it a nice circling. And sometimes it just feels good too to like take the knee out to the side and return it. And a little mini fire hydrant, no big hole. And then as you're ready, plant that foot to the outside. Again, straight 90 degrees out from your hip. And start pulsing your hip back, forward. Again, you might just stay in sort of this upward kind of position or take your hips all the way back towards the heel. Release that toe, those toes towards the ceiling. If you're going to do that foot release and put the hips back first. Just that's safe. What are you finding again if you're walking your hands forward away from you? I got pretty toasty in here today, didn't I? Finally. All right. And again, so gently, so thoughtfully, come on back. And I'm gonna have us come to our bellies for quadricep stretch, but some of you perhaps prefer a standing version, in which case you're welcome to do that. If you're on your belly, I want to remind you the value of putting your forearm forward first. This just allows a much more controlled entry, safer for the body. So I'm going to place one forearm. I'm going to anchor through my butt cheeks and reach back for the ankle with the other arm. And then I'm simply going to settle my forehead. But it helps us not flail as much. If you don't have that arm, you're kind of like cranking around, and a lot of people get cramps and so on in the hands. I know you've been in this pose hundreds, if not thousands of times. So, but I'm gonna ask you to be very, just really invested in it. Deep inhale, exhale, glute squeeze, see where you can take the stretch. If your knee is winging out a bit, or if you're on your side body, it's winging up, see if you can bring it into alignment with your hip bone, and that will definitely change the stretch. You guys look great. And anytime you like, you'll switch and explore the other side. So then I bring the other forearm around front, or if you're on your side body, you might have an arm under your head, for example. Remember to let the shoulder blade wing in towards the spine. Yep. Oh, sorry. Again, really investing and breathing into this deep glute anchoring. Is this side different? What's notable? Okay, we started off our contemplating our fixing nature, our problem solving nature. So in this pose of others, we just want to notice our brain tends to get focused on like, oh, my dang knee, oh, I gotta fix this leg. If it feels appropriate in your body, absolutely, you could get a hold of both ankles and go into your bow pose. I love kind of pulsing with breath there, letting it soften on the exhale, and then inhale, reigniting. Then we're going to ultimately be moving to downward facing dog, and then eventually back to ragdoll. So some of you might decide to kind of just press almost into a plank and back to downward dog. Some of you might go to child's pose first. Maybe you want to come from kind of a table cow cat. Oh, and look, we've got sunshine happening here in Wisconsin. But here in Menominee at FLC, who knows what's happening a mile down the road? That transformed the whole place changes. Yeah, it is. Sunshine is magical. Oh, all right, I'm gonna ask you just in these few breaths in downward dog to see if you can ignite that robot belly and really the whole core, the harness as I think of it, to draw towards your back and to let that take your hips up and back, reducing the weight on your hands, and theoretically you should be able to kind of lift one hand at a time and stay pretty stable. And then ever so slowly, knees bent, walk those hands back to the feet, ragdoll back in the mat. Or you can always have a block if you'd like, but I personally bend my knees deeply enough that even though I'm quite tight, my hands do hang on the floor. Blossoming breath into the breath apparatus, that whole lung space. If you're really willful about it, should bring you stretches into your whole kind of back of the lungs and the ribs, but also even down into the hips and legs. Are any of you feeling that? Yeah, isn't it great? It's like getting a little massage. Love it. All right, on your next inhale, when it comes, never rush to meet my words. We're just going to drop the butt to chair. Just a full breath right here. Inhaling, root rise, big glute squeeze, maybe looking up if that feels good. And exhaling, prayer hands. And I'm going to ask you to just feel, if you can, where is your mountain stance without looking at your feet and discerning how far apart they are. I want you to try and find a sense of neutral. Weight is even in all four corners of the feet, front and back. And if you just lightly squeeze an imaginary block between the thighs, notice what that does. Maintaining that sense of core integrity, we're going to step sideways on our mat. Let's go ahead and face the sun. Why not? Generally, the wider you have your feet here, the better these warrior lunges are going to feel and function, because we don't want our knee trying to go beyond the foot. So the wider the feet, the better. So first, we're just going to rotate the right foot 90, and I'd like you to look at it and place it absolutely straight forward. Place that big toe and try and spread the other toes. Good. Then you can look at it, but mostly I just want you to think about your back foot, and you're pushing down in order to send your hips forward towards that front heel. Good. And release it a little and press and set. So a lot of us will notice that it's very easy to forget about that back foot and to just start thinking about the hips. And I don't want to do that. I want that foundation always. So notice now as you hold in your lunge, how's it feeling? Your front thigh bone should be straight. If it's not, squeeze your right butt cheek towards the left edge of the mat. I'd also love our torsos to just be upright and easy. You guys look pretty good. See if you can scooch that front foot forward a little bit, finding an edge. We'll hold for one full breath. If you want to open those arms out, warrior two, go for it. All right, and coming back up, we'll turn our feet back to our neutral straddle, and then turn the left of 90. And we'll be doing more of these lunges without holding quite as long, but this is our chance to really check and notice what are our habits? What can we do to create more stability and just integrity in this pose? So again, the power of that back foot pressing. To be clear, it's not so much about the foot, it's what the foot pressing does to the leg that now protects the knee and makes you really stable. And then it's also enough forward movement of the hips to get the real stretch and stuff that might be available around the tailbone into the IT band connections and the joint. Let's release a little, then see, go a little bit deeper, hold for one breath, both feet anchoring, arms reaching out from the heart, neck is where you, it's easy. And back to center, we'll bring those feet in just a little bit and fold. Big breath. Using hands on thighs if you'd like. Nice core support here, or tap back or whatever you'd like to do. Now let's roll out those wrists and come into our yoga mudra. And if you prefer a different version, if you like going into a fold and maybe a strap or something, go for it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna pulse my hands off my hips a few times here. Or then bringing one arm in front. Don't rush. Again, if you're still loving yoga mudra, we're not going to ditch you. Coming one arm in front for our thread the needle. Breathing into that upper back, and then you might let that kind of let your body rotate a little down to the left so that that left or right hand is going down left. I'm having a hard time explaining that today. And at some point releasing it, and with some nice knee and hip movement involved, I want you to just give that arm a swirl. So I'm kind of bending the knees and straightening, circling that arm. Lovely. And let's bring the other arm in. Is this side what's knowable? And at some point, when you're ready, releasing it again. Nice full body experience. Love it. All right, we're going to come to the front of the mat. We're going to be pulsing in and out of essentially a warrior one movement. Then at some point, we'll string some things together. So I'll show you what we're doing just so that it makes sense. You're not trying to crank your head while you're doing it. In short, the movement we're doing is kind of a short No pun intended, short stance, right? I'm not trying to get as far back as I can. So I've got maybe 2.5 feet between my toes or something. This should allow me to absolutely keep my hip bones steered. And that's one of the critical pieces. I'm going to be reaching up through the arms, and they don't have to be parallel. They can be a little wide. So if you feel neck pressure when you have your arms in, bring them out. And then we're going to push back through that heel, reach forward through the hips and the ribs, take a big inhale. Some of us will feel a stretch through here when we do that. And then we're going to hinge forward just a little bit in jet airplane and return up. Again, if arms up is bothersome, actually you could even do goalposts. So we'll do that a few times and then we'll come into the other side. And so one of the things that we're interested in is what kind of stretch is happening for you both in hip flexor area and that deeper psoas. So as you're ready, find your mountain stance at the front. You've got those hip bones steered and you might, again, squeeze the imaginary block a little bit. As you're ready, inhale, reach those arms up. And whatever your up is, step back with your right foot into warrior one. So the hips stay square. And all I did was move that foot back, toes are out a little bit. You got it. Inhale, reach forward through the ribs. It's like there's a curved wall in front of you. Exhale, bring your belly into your spine again to create your jet airplane. And make sure that left hip bone is drawing back. Otherwise, you are using all the wrong stuff on the outside of the leg. I want you to feel this in your butt. Inhale, come up and come back into your breath, a little back bend. Exhaling, jet airplane. Really peel the shoulders down the back and draw forward through the crown. I've even got my chin a little tucked. Let's do just a couple more like that. So really broadening through the heart, keeping those hip bones steered forward. All right. And then as you're ready on your next jet airplane, you're going to use that to then just fold, plant the hands and step back to your downward dog. If that does not work in your world, do whatever does. It may take multiple movements and that's fine. So opportunity here to hold, rest, or flow. And so you might be holding in downward dog, doing a few intentional breaths. You might rest here or child's pose. You might flow through dog series if you're wanting to, or even up dog, down dog, cow cat. So just noticing. And then we'll be meeting at the front of the mat to do our little flow. If you're find yourself in downward dog, you could lunge forward, hop forward, right? Lots of opportunities. Either way, it's good. We're bending stuff. You know, we just take for granted, some of us who do yoga, but just the ability to bend your ankle at that angle that we do. There's so many people in massage when I go to try and flex their toes back, like they can't go past 90, you know? So celebrate that you guys are just clambering around like little mountain goats here. Inhale, root rise, squeeze that imaginary block. Exhale, and we're going to step back with the left foot. So again, the toes are just a little out from forward. You should feel that you can, again, draw the right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. Another way to think of it is that you're wanting to pinch or squeeze a piece of paper between your thighs. And then as you're ready, inhale, whatever your version is. I'm doing goalposts because my neck was getting tight. Exhaling, jet airplane. Steer right hip bone back. I really have to remind myself it wants to kick out and forward. Inhaling up. Belly to spine, your jet airplane. Again, really peeling the shoulders down the back. Right hip bone drawing back. Yeah, let's do just a couple more. And if you're not sure if your right hip bone is drawing back, honestly, you could bring it. Wait, you want to? I have to get this a second. Sorry. Hip bone is forward. Left hip bone is back. Since your left foot is forward, you got it. But if you want to feel why that's important, if you swing that left hip out a little bit, you'll feel that all the tension and weird stuff goes to the outside of the leg. When you bring it in, now you've got glute effort, and that's what we want. So that's why those hips stay steered. One last time, coming into your jet airplane on your exhale. And then from there, core support, downward dog. Now, one thing you can do to make this easier, this transition, is take your back leg and just step it back. That'll make it easier to get your hands to the floor. Because I had you in a pretty short stance, I could see that was an awkward transition for you guys. Go ahead and pedal again, breathe, hold, rest or flow, notice. If you're holding a downward dog, know that it's not meant to be frozen. So the inhale, you might give it a little room. The exhale, you really exercise that core support. All right, and then we're going to connect at the front of the mat once again. Maybe you're going to do a little ragdoll. Maybe you're hopping. Maybe you walk your arms back because that feels better than your joints front. So we're gonna, like I said, do a little flow that incorporates this warrior one with warrior two, which you guys just did a moment ago. I want to point out that not everyone is as comfortable in warrior one as they are in crescent lunge where you're on the ball with that foot. If you prefer to do that, you absolutely can. The only thing I want to mention is that over the years, I've noticed, I've known a number of people, including myself, who have gotten a kind of stress through this part of the hip from kind of sinking or overstretching. It's easy to think that more is better. I really want to keep you in a strong position. So if you're in crescent lunge, actually, I would kind of tuck the tailbone a little bit. It's not really a tuck, it's just not letting it tilt back. And you could even keep your knee bent a little bit. And that can actually be a wonderful stretch and wonderful work for those muscles. But I don't want you to feel a pull right here. Okay, that's really important. I'm imagining you nodding there on Zoom. All right. What's that? Yeah, so it's actually. All right, so find your mountain stance. And again, always make this work for your body. I'm giving you these little tools to kind of look at your body through, but if something I'm suggesting doesn't feel right, just let it go. If you would just start in prayer hands a moment. I'm going to think about my feet connecting with the earth. And then palm to palm, like a little kiss. Let's tune in to a few soft breaths, rising and settling. Nothing to know, do, or fix. Here you are in this amazing body, doing so much. Thousands of events happening perfectly and quietly behind the scenes. A long inhale, sweep slowly out and up. Enjoy the journey, feeling through the arms. Is there more? Exhaling, prayer hands, lift the left knee, standing crane. Continue to anchor through the inner line of that standing foot to support your balance. And just make a nice slow journey into your position, whether it's warrior one or crescent lunge. If you didn't get a deep enough lunge or stance remember, you can always scooch with your front foot. We're going to inhale and create, again, that pose of reaching forward from the back heel through the heart space. Deep breath. Exhaling into your jet airplane. Right hip bone steers back. Hold. We're going to add something here. We did this last week and I loved it. You're going to slowly reach forward through your left arm. So you're twisting to the right and you reach back through your right arm. Then slowly come back to center. And then we're going to open up to our warrior two. So that's where you're going to for sure want to be able to scooch that front foot into your deeper lunge. That back foot ideally is 90. We're using it, yes, to push. I shouldn't say push, send our hips forward and down. And then we can add arms, we can look out behind, which is a wonderful balance challenge, I find, to shift our vision. We should have no discomfort in joints here. And I really want you to pay attention to where that hip bone is and where your pelvis is. Yeah. On a long inhale, we're going to reach up and back, exalted warrior. And it's like our body is just moving between two panes of glass. And then exhaling, we're going to flow forward to our lateral stretch. Plant that right elbow, but then please lift through your right rib cage. So you really aren't leaning on the elbow that much. I look down at the floor here because my neck prefers it, but you can do what you'd like. I'm going to reach forward through that left arm, but then I'm going to pulse. I'm going to pull back and reach again, and pull back and reach again. One more time. And then your choice, but I'm going to move to straddle. I'm just going to rotate my right foot and go into a fold. If you are hungry for dog series or something else, please go there. In your straddle fold, this is a wonderful opportunity to do some beautiful organic side to side with the hips, bending one leg and straightening the other, letting the head hang. So in your own time, we're going to return to ragdoll, front of the mat. Deep, full breath. Get that stretch down into the head. Inhaling, sit to chair, or if you prefer bar stool. Inhale, root and rise. And resolving prayer hands. Pause, tune in. We'd love to re-anchor all four corners of the feet. Feeling hand to hand, that little kiss. Broad breath through the back of the body. Find your drishti gaze, soft focus for the eyes. Inhale, sweep up. Exhaling, prayer hands lifting, knee right, knee standing right. Notice what's happening with the left foot and ankle. I've almost got my standing leg a little bit here. And slow journey, so you really enjoy the balance of it and kind of picturing where you're placing that foot. Steer left hip bone back, right hip bone forward. Again, you should be able to feel a little inner thigh squeeze. And let's reach back through the heel, forward through the hips, and then forward through the body again, as if there's a curved wall, like one of those cave storage places for wine. And moving into your jet airplane, nice core support, shoulders slide down. And now slowly rotate left and bring your right arm forward. Again, you don't have to look anywhere in particular, whatever is useful on your neck, please. And coming up, actually, if you bring that right arm up, that might feel like a nice way to spiral. I meant to do that on the other side of it. Spiral into your warrior two, deepening that lunge, scooping that front foot forward, and checking in with a little pulsing to see if you are at your sweet spot, and then hanging out there. Is this side different? What's knowable? You guys look really good. Real nice. And on a long inhale, exalted warrior. Slowly forward lateral stretch, elbow to thigh. Shoulder heads draw down the back. Left waistline rises. Reaching forward through that right arm. And again, I like pulling back towards the hip and then reaching forward again. I find I can really feel it works this whole line. One of the things I'm curious to have you attend to is, do you feel stretching at all down, even as far as the hip or psoas? Some of us, yes, some no. That's probably just so you know. I don't know what she's talking about. You don't have to. You don't have to feel that. Just notice. And in your own time, either swiveling out to your straddle one more time or to downward facing dog. So I'm very curious to have you just ask yourself, welcome to share, any significant side to side noticings, whether it was, during our little back bend lunging stuff. Yeah, well, we're coming down onto the mat to do our pigeon. Now, if you prefer classic pigeon to reclined pigeon, this would be a good time to go there. You're already kind of up and about. I often teach reclined pigeon because it's just gentler and safer on knees, hips, and low back. I also actually find that sometimes I can get a better stretch because it's easier to move and manipulate things. So if you have any knee instability, low back instability, reclined pigeon is just safer. But you also, some of us find it really useful for finding that perfect angle. Because your first thing is you're going to hug that right knee really tightly to the chest and then send it a little to the left. And that'll get you one stretch. If you grab a hold of the foot and you bring that closer to you, or you kind of share back and forth between hugging the knee or the foot tighter, you might experience a whole range of locations of stretch. And sometimes I make a point of just rolling my head side to side while we're here because we're actually getting stretch all around that lower spine. And so to work with the upper spine can feel pretty great. And I'm going to repeat the exercise that we did last week. And given that you're all in reclined pigeon, this will work. I forgot I was going to do this. Go ahead and plant your left foot. And at first, just take your right leg, release it up to the sky, point, flex, and roll. You can even bend and straighten the leg. Then return it into that ankle cross onto the left thigh. So we're giving that right leg a break and then bringing it back to that position. Now, instead of going into pigeon, I'm going to raise the left hip off the floor. Well, all of the hips. Every hip you have, bring it off the floor. And if you kind of pulse here, try not to use the neck, but you should feel some pretty good wake up in that left glute. Come slowly down. And your choice. Some people love taking that right leg up and doing a little leg release, like you're painting the wall in front of you. Some of you might be like, oh, I need knees to belly or something else. Then we're going to plant left foot on the floor, right knee, right ankle, excuse me. Forget everything I just said. Right foot on the floor, left ankle crosses onto the right knee, opposite of what you just did. And we're going to hug the left knee tight to the chest. Check your neck and shoulders, no striving. And you're going to play. You're going to send it a little towards the center line. Oh, hello. And you're going to alternatingly work with foot and knee if you like that. Find a place of really great stretch and send a few breaths into it. I didn't invite that on the other side. I really should. That's the breath is our change agent. You guys sound awesome, by the way. When you feel complete with this pigeon exploration, plant the right foot, let that left leg release to the sky, point, flex, roll, bend and straighten the leg, whatever feels juicy. And then we're going to cross it again so that we're going to raise the hips off the floor and work that right butt cheek. Again, a little pulsing, a little dipping, and then re-engaging. Very easy. When you feel complete with that, you notice what you would like. We're going to be coming into reclined butterfly with the soles of the feet touching. So whenever you're ready, you'll join us there. I like working my shoulder blades in and under a little bit. I immediately feel a relaxed state in my neck. I really like that. And then at some point, raising the hips off the floor just a little. We're going to hang out here for about a minute. It's so funny, I confess that for whatever reason, the word that came to mind, I almost said was a month. We're not going to stay here a month. We'll just yes, yes, it starts to feel like a month. Make sure you come out. But usually a minute is a pretty good length of time, a chance to truly breathe into this and soften in all the ways you can. Because not every part of the body needs to participate. If you need to come out, you can always do so. Otherwise, about another 30 seconds, so you're about halfway there. And then you notice anything different from side to side. Five more seconds. And then when you settle the hips, keep the feet as they are, just settle the hips. Let the knees settle a moment. Notice what that's like. Then would it feel good to relax the legs out into corpse pose or perhaps a little wider? And then we're going to once again reach arms overhead. And one of my favorite relaxation tools that I often use before sleep at night in bed is, I may not always reach my arms overhead because there might not be room, but is to flex through the heels and rotate the toes in and out. And if you're fairly tight in the IT band hip area, you really may feel a lot of goodness with this. In fact, bring your hands down, actually, folks, to right where, in a sense, right where the pubic bone kind of line is. You go straight from there, and you put your hands out on your hips, and you rotate in through those toes and out. Do you feel all of that work happening there? A lot of movement, right? At least I hope you're getting a lot of movement. Are you? Okay. It was all quiet in front of the house there. I was like, wait a minute. Go ahead. And then bring the knees into your belly. Nice little hug. We're going to go right into spinal twist. So taking the knees all the way to the left. If you can, keeping the thighs connected, feet flexed. I like to use the forehand to anchor thighs and then opening through that back arm. You might point, flex, and roll through the wrists. Lots of angles to explore potentially through the arm, including circling across the body. And hopefully you've got your knees at least at the height of the hips or higher. And if I can take your left hand, I've got my left elbow propped, take your left hand and see if you can support that right leg and straightening out to your left. So just straightening my right knee. And that elbow hand is helping keep my leg at the same height of the hip versus it dropping on the floor, going higher. Might feel good to kind of bend the knee and re-straighten. I'm hoping you can feel kind of a massage that you're really talking to this whole line from heel through that IT band, the upper leg. And bending that knee again, I'm going to do open book, close book to get to the other side. So I'm going to let my right knee slowly start to move towards the ceiling. And then there's a point where it can't go any further without the left one following. Opening the book and then closing the book on the other side. I've got my right hand anchoring my thighs. And playing with some of those same positions. Might flex and point through the hand. Those of you who've enjoyed the nerve flossing, you might really feel that you can do some flossing here. And would you like to play with extending that top leg? You know, if that just takes you into feeling kind of frozen and bound up, don't do it. We want to find something we can breathe into, or just don't do it. Go back to the next best thing. At any point when you're ready, you might again open book, close book. I'm going to keep that going for a little while. I'm just going to let my arms kind of flop along, however they do. Opening the book and closing the book. Have your hands above your head, belly, or you want. And we're going to end on our back, plant the feet, take the hips high, place the block under the same triangle. And if you'd like something other than the one you got, can't you let me know? And this should feel wonderful. If it's, a little intense, that's okay. But if it's ouchy, we want to immediately come off. Once again, tucking your shoulder blades a little can protect that cervical spine, reduce neck pressure. Just notice the two very distinct positions here. Are they both good for you? If so, we'll spend a little time in each. Knees bent is one position, letting the low back and elongate towards the floor. The more we can deep breathe, it massages the whole system, lets us know, hey, we're okay. And then if you'd like to play with straightening the legs, please do. If you do that and your pubic bone and pelvis kind of tilts downward away from you, that means you need to take the block a little further down the body. If you can cultivate really big breath here, and if you're somebody who noticed some intensity in the kind of low belly hip area during some of our stretches today, this is a great time to activate more stretch through breath. You could also take your touch in those areas. In your case, with one side tighter than the other. Stay here only as long as it's magnificent. Always bend the knees before then raising the hips. So it's a nice, thoughtful movement because we never quite know, what's in there after that kind of stretch. I almost always bring knees to belly one more time. See what it works for. We're going to do just a little more on our front body. We're going to do some forearm plank and jet airplane before we settle in for our resting. You can just roll over like a log if you want, and you can flip end for end, however you want. How are you feeling? Good. Good. Thumbs up. Peaceful but smiling face. All right. So laying on your front body when you're ready, and don't rush my words. And you might want to clear the space around you if you're somebody who likes doing the kind of sweeping to the outside, which I find really fruitful. It just feels so good in my whole shoulder girdle. So give yourself a little space. Then first, let's just relax. We're going to settle. You could have your head to one side or the other. Arms just simply relaxed. Tune into your breath here with the floor as a reference point. Ideally, your breath is so deep. I mean, if I were to be looking at you, which I am kind of looking at you, I should see your shoulders move and a whole bunch of your torso as you're filling the abdomen and lung space. Is there more? All right. Continue that deep breath and slowly move into your preparatory position for jet airplane. Forehead resting, palms facing the floor, shoulder head circle away from the floor and down the back. Anchor the pelvis. And on your inhale, extend into your jet airplane, whatever that is. I keep my legs rooted because my back doesn't like them flying. Exhale, return, relax. Inhale, anchor, and elongate again through the spine. Exhale, return. Do a couple more. Remember those shoulders are peeling down the back. Yeah, you guys are good. Nice long necks. Love it. The next time you're in flight, invitation to reach one arm forward, one arm back. Play. Until you feel complete release. You might rest on the belly again, or if your low back is feeling the need, pressing back to child's pose. And if you're coming into forearm plank from child's pose, it's actually very easy. We can do it both ways from our belly or from here. If you're coming from child's pose, you'll just walk those forearms forward, anchor the shoulders, nice little core support before you step back your feet into plank or drop the knees for your version. Forearm plank, I should say. So you're on your forearms. If you're on your feet, please remember, ignite your thigh bones towards the sky. Squeeze those inner thighs a little bit as if you had a block. Yeah, and just simply notice what's working. I'm hoping that you feel good work happening on the front body and the back body, that there's no striving, you're not hyper tucking, you're not swagging and hanging. When you feel complete, come on out. Take a few resting breaths, maybe sighing, especially if you've been under any stress, whether it's personal hurry and worried or whether it's concern about the planet that we're living on, social stress, any of those stressors, just sighing breath can help your body let it move through and out. And I really feel it makes it less disease prone. I'm going to come into jet airplane again. And I'm going to invite you to notice, would it feel good to move from jet airplane to glide plane? So that's arms straight out and then bringing them back into that jet airplane on a 45. I find it to be really interesting to feel the subtlety, the difference of which muscles are working. Some point of feel inspired, you may take those arms all the way forward into your Superman. Again, you never have to bring them parallel. Don't let that neck tighten up. And release. Good work. Yeah. Waking up that back body is really good work. It'll keep you up, right? You feel like it's core work. So funny, we tend to be taught, I think, in like gym class or something, that our core is, it's your abdominal muscles doing sit-ups. And we're not really taught that it's this whole tube, including glutes and thighs. All right, let's use that little core. Forearm plank one more time. And while you're there, if you find yourself inclined, you can do just the slightest of shimmies. And I mean slight. Sometimes people go into these big movements, and I feel like that really compromises or could compromise shoulders and so on. I just want you to feel that subtlety. What's being woken up? If you'd like some added intensity, of course, you could raise one foot off the floor at a time. You could come into your frog leg for sure. Always an option. When you release from here, invite you to press back to your child's pose. Take those knees wide. Extend the arms forward and take a few really deep breaths. On that inhale, my hope is that it's deep enough that it would feel actually good to raise your chest and head a little bit to give it more room. And exhale to lower into the stretch. So good to be with you here, to find, I hope, greater strength and ease in our bodies. One of the things that I find super fascinating is that I think some dis-ease in the body, and I don't mean disease, although I've always found the connections there interesting. Some of the dis-ease comes from our body from not using the parts of us that are meant to perform actions throughout the day, right? So if we aren't using our strong back muscles, and then we're just slumped forward, right? Now we've got dis-ease in the front and back body, like, oh, my neck hurts, right? If I was just using the muscles that we're supposed to, now I could be in ease. So I'm going to ask you, I know that we've talked about trying to not be in fix-it mode, but I think some problem-solving mode is very helpful. I want you to just scan your body, scan your practice today. What did you notice? Whether it was tension in a particular part of the body, whether it was a part of the body that you had difficulty igniting, or communicating well. Did you notice any imbalances side to side? When you feel ready to move into a place of simply resting and integrating everything, go ahead, find that shape. Maybe it's reclined on a bolster, maybe you want to take legs up the wall or at home on an ottoman or sofa, uh, whatever calls to you. Add back a layer, if you feel like it could be chilly. Even if you're not cold, sometimes a light layer will just help provide a little bit of introversion. We're going to use these next 5 or so minutes of practice to simply integrate, heal. It's kind of the synthesis of what you've been doing in your practice. If you're craving any particular position or thing, go there. And when you're ready, imagine yourself sinking more deeply with each exhale. It's as if gravity just got a little bit stronger, guiding you down and down, down. And to slowly expand your breath. And before your brain goes into any kind of planning or fix-it mode, please use this moment to be in a state of gratitude for this incredible body and being that you're in. Your wisdom for getting to the mat today. Well done. You can also use this moment to ask of our body and being, is there anything in particular that's needed? Anything that would help cultivate greater wholeness or ease in my systems? Thank you all so much for being here. Om Shanti, Shanti, Om Peace, Peace. Namaste. Namaste.